A play often cited as the worst play in NFL history is the one you see on the screen, also known as the swinging gate play. It's one that, gets talked about a lot, and when I bring it up with my, friends who maybe aren't super into football, they always ask me, what the hell happened here? So I thought, you know what, why don't I make a video and explain what did happen, because there actually is a reason. Pat McAfee gave a pretty good explanation on his show because he was obviously involved in this play, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. But if you want to hear me explain it, well, let's get into it. So the situation is the Colts are down 6 points late in the third quarter, so, playing the Patriots, who it's always tough to beat them, right? Well, not recently, but, historically, for the past 20 years, it has usually been tough to beat them. And the Colts are coming up with a bit of a clever concept to try and do it. So, again, 4th down and 3, they rushed a punt team on there, but this is where they're going to try to be a little bit clever. As you see, all of the Colts players rush towards the sideline, almost as though they're planning on going for it, but then they all stop and line up like this. So what's happening here? The strategy is actually relatively simple. If you rush off the field, then the other team, so the Patriots in this case, would be granted time to make sure they can get the personnel that they want on there. That way you can't swap personnel at the last second and force a too many men penalty or something like that. But if you don't actually run off the field and then someone else runs on the field, a Patriot player runs on the field, then there would be 12 players on the field. You could snap the ball and get a 5-yard penalty. And then instead of having to punt the ball away, you keep possession. There's also the other element, which is maybe Bill Belichick says, okay, what's going on? Let me just call a timeout, which isn't the biggest benefit in the world. But hey, if you can get your opponent to waste a timeout, that still is an advantage. And then if none of that works, if the Patriots are playing it like how they're playing it, where they're just, doing a good job of communicating on the field and they're ready to go, then you just simply take a delay of game penalty. It's 5 yards back and then you punt the ball, no harm, no foul. You're punting the ball anyway. 5 yards isn't that big of a deal in the scheme of things. That's the logic here. Okay, honestly, you can kind of understand why on paper this could work. But now I have to direct your attention to the 2 players in the middle of the field. The player who would be snapping the ball and the player who was lined up as a quarterback on this play. So the way that this was in the rule book when they first implemented it was for the center on this play, we'll just call him a center because that's kind of what he's lined up as. His decision is simple. He's not looking at anything because this isn't something he's used to doing. He's just going to have the simplest plan. If the player behind him lines up to take the snap, then he snaps the ball. If the player does not line up to take the snap, he doesn't snap the ball. This way, he doesn't have to think too much about it. You have someone else who's kind of looking over and noticing what's happening. It makes sense. However, here is the issue. Most of these players were not practicing this with the rulebook. They had practiced it all week, and you're not reading the rulebook every time you practice the play. You just practice the play. So when it comes to letter of the law by specific details, that's not really how they were doing it. The issue, the center on this play, was not practicing this all week. He's actually a backup gunner. They kind of said, they were wondering, do we still want to try this? But they're like, we got to beat the Patriots. We got to take chances. He's a smart guy. He can figure it out. How difficult is it to just know that you should, snap the ball if it looks like you should, and don't snap the ball if it looks like you shouldn't? The other issue is head coach Chuck Pagano went over to the player who's kind of like the quarterback on this one and said, hey, if it looks like it's not going to work, maybe try to get a hard count just because you'll have a few seconds. Why not? Because again, they hadn't been practicing with the letter of the law in the rulebook. They forgot that was part of the rulebook. So the quote-unquote quarterback goes to take the ball from the quote-unquote center, and both of them are kind of doing what they're supposed to be doing here. This is just a massive communication blunder on a play that was intended to be clever, but has not done any good whatsoever in fooling New England. So the ball is snapped. This goes horribly wrong. Is immediately, tackled, and one of the all-time blunders. One that you can kind of understand how it happens, though, and it's just kind of an interesting story, I feel like, and trying to be clever, but not ironing out the details and essentially shooting yourself in the foot. Do you want to see me rank every single Stanley Kubrick movie into tiers? Or how about Wes Anderson? I have a tier list video of his as well on my movie channel. The link for that is in the description below. I also have some movie reviews on there, some sort of different kind of film study type videos, such as comparing the difference between Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back's endings and why the first one doesn't work and the second one does. If that seems like your kind of thing, check it out. Again, link is in the description below. You can also just search Jackson Kruger movies if it seems like your kind of thing.